Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Khairul Syahriyah, and in my hand, I have a book titled Parent-Child Relationship, a guide to raising children. This book was written by Hamid, AbuSulayman. He was a very powerful figure in the Islamic education history. He was the pioneer and chairman of IIT, International Islamic Thought. He was also a former rector of IIM. Now, in the book, he taught us how to raise our children in accordance to Islamic principles. And it is my utmost privilege to be standing here to share my thought on the book with you guys. One of the topics that I wish to highlight today is Western influences and Muslim parenting. Let me pose one question for everyone. We want the best for our children. We want our children to be future leaders that will bring the ummah together. But let's look at ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, are we raising our children to be the future leaders, or are we allowing them to lose their identity as a Muslim? Now, this was highlighted in the book. A lot of things have went wrong with Muslim family due to Western influences. How did the Western influences insert themselves in the Muslim family? In the 21st century, we are witnessing the decline of an ummah, and this is not a new issue that just happened a few years back. This has been happening centuries ago. Muslim ummah no longer stand together as one. We have broken apart. We are distancing ourselves from one another, leaving spaces between us, and between these spaces, the Western culture, the West, has inserted themselves slowly but surely, and over the year, their influences have grown bigger and bigger until they have dominated the whole world. This is not something that is happening in only one part of the world. This is something that is happening all around the world, especially in the Muslim countries. The West has successfully removed our Islamic education system and insert the secular and liberal one, teaching us Muslims of their culture, of their values. And this is one of the ways that the West has colonized us through our minds. Not only do they rob us of our own lands, of our natural resources, and of our hopes, but they also robbed us of our faith. And since we were a kid, we were taught of these cultures that goes against the Islamic principles and values. So what will happen if a Muslim learn the Western culture instead of the Muslim one? It will make a Muslim question themselves. Am I a Muslim, or am I this race, or am I that race? If I'm this race, if I'm a Malay, but I don't feel belong to this culture, because this culture is not something that I've learned since I was a kid. I feel more belong in the Western culture because I've been learning this since I was a kid. See, this has caused Muslims to further themselves from Islam and to insert themselves to somewhere they belong, which is the Western culture. What will happen when someone is so influenced by a certain culture that they wish to assimilate to that culture? They will start to imitate them. How? Now Muslims will start to imitate the West through their clothing, promoting tabarruj, nudity, hedonism, way of lifestyle, choosing entertainment over moral values, free mixing of gender with no boundaries at all. This happened because Muslim wants to assimilate to the Western culture, and because Muslim does not see the importance of Islamic principles, because it has not been nurtured into them since I was a kid. They grew up believing that all these cultures that I've just mentioned is something normal. All these challenges and all this assimilation to other cultures that is not aligned with the principle of Islam has caused our generation to move backwards, to have a destabilized faith, to move further away from our faith, and to lose our identity as a Muslim. And it will produce Muslims who struggle morally. They are unable to develop a worldview that encompasses between spiritual, which is Islamic principle, and between the world. Because now all they focus on are on the world. In the book, Hamid AbuSulayman mentioned two concepts that I believe all Muslims should inculcate in themselves. Number one, Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. Number two, Allahu A'lam, God knows best. And these two concepts are concepts that is missing in the Western culture. They do not believe in God's power, in God's authority. Some of them don't even believe in God, don't believe in the existence of God. These two concepts, as highlighted by the author Abdul Hamid AbuSulayman, is important because it will help humans to feel more responsible towards everything and everyone around them. Let's see the West, for example. They do not have a sense of responsibility towards everyone around them. They do not know the authority or power of God. What will happen? Now they will feel like they are the God. They feel like they have authority and responsibility over everything and everyone around them, which will cause destruction of the world. For example, the pollution of the sea due to excessive toxins, deforestation, excessive use of natural resources. For the name of what? For the name of modernization and technologies. Because they believe that they have authority over everything that they want, and what they're doing is actually contributing to the society, to the community. They believe that they are doing the good thing for the world, when in reality, they are just leading the world into destructions. In the Quran, Allah has said that as humans, we are sent down onto earth as the vicegerent, as the Khalifa, that are responsible to take care of everything around us, to take care of the animals, of the plants, of the nature. And we have to be grateful of the ni'mah that has been sent down to us. Because again, we are the Khalifa. We are responsible over everything around us. Now, these are the things that we as a Muslim want to avoid. We want to avoid being arrogant. We want to avoid disrupting the world in the name of technology or in the name of modernization. We want to avoid being morally confused. We want to be true to our principles, to Islamic faith. To create future leaders that is pious and righteous, that is not arrogant and have humility, to bring back the strength that Islam once had. It starts from home, it starts from parenting. Now, what is the right way in disciplining, in raising our children that is aligned with Islamic principles? In the book, the author has highlighted a few ways. Number one, practicing intelligent parenting. Now, what is practicing intelligent parenting? Intelligent parenting is balancing between dunya and akhirah, balancing between spiritual and moral values. Number one, applying appropriate balance between discipline and empowerment and also encouragement. When we encourage our children in disciplining them, we are producing children that is not afraid of making mistakes, that is not afraid from learning from their mistakes. So number one, always remember to incorporate between discipline and encouragement. Number two, to teach humility in our children. As parents, we should be our children's first role model. We need to be able to admit our mistakes to our children and do not hesitate to apologize to them when we make mistakes. What will this teach our children? It will teach our children to not be egoistic, to have humility in themselves, to be a leader that has empathy toward others, that is not hesitant to apologize to others, to admit their mistakes. If we wish to have children, to have future generation that has a sense of humility in them, then we need to give a good example of being able to admit our mistakes, to apologize to them. And this is how we inculcate the feeling of humility in the future generation. And the third step is the most important steps, to complement the first two steps with the devotion towards prayers and faith. How can we say that we want to produce future leaders that can bring back the strength that Islam once had centuries ago if we do not inculcate or nurture devotion toward prayers in our children? Now, this is what I mean by a balance between dunya and akhirah, a balance between spiritual and morality. We teach our children moral values like humility, and then we inculcate love for religion through prayers. The second method to parenting is called a good parenting goals. Parenting goal is very simple. There's only two components of a good parenting goal. Number one, to achieve a happy family. What are the components or elements of a happy family? In my opinion, it is communication. Having a good communication with your children is what will lead to a good family, to a happy family. But how do we achieve this good communication with our children? First is to let our children talk. And when we let them talk, level yourself to them. Don't stand straight. Don't stand straight. Look down to them and listen to them like they are below you. This will make your children feel small. Instead, level your eye with them. Crouch down. Look into your children's eye. Give your full focus to them. Let them know that they are being heard, they are being listened to, that their opinions matter. After you let your children talk and level your eyes with them and give your 100 focus to them, remember to never ever interrupt them when they're talking. What will happen if we interrupt our children when they're talking? It will make them feel small again. It will make them feel unheard of. It will make them feel as if their opinions does not matter to us. And we do not want that to happen, because that will hinder our process of having a good communication with our children. The third one, in order to have a good communication with our children, is that we need to know that they are loved. How do we let them know that they are loved? Via communication. The book has highlighted, and I like this one a lot because not a lot of people mention this method. It is to touch them lightly with affection. For example, when they're talking, put your hand in them, place your hand in them, caress their hand, pat their head, look at them into their eyes, let them feel the affection of a parent. Let them feel the bond between the both of you guys. This is 3 steps in having good communication with our children. Letting them talk, not interrupting them when they talk, letting them feel affection and love when they are talking. Now, the second step in good parenting goal, now that we have established a happy family with good communication, is the time for us to raise future leaders by nurturing them with values of a leader that is aligned with Islamic principles. For example, honesty, love, responsibility, and humility. But how do we do so? It's very simple actually. Tell the children of stories of the prophets before us, how our prophet worked hard in being a good leader. For our prophets are the best example of a good leader. Now these are the steps of being a good parent, of having a successful parenting method that will raise our children, inshallah, to be a future leaders with Islamic principles, values in their heart. Children are like seeds, and parents are the one who plant the seed. It is up to the parents whether we want this seed to grow, to flourish into a big, beautiful trees that will keep people away from the weed of misguided values, or we want this seed to grow into a thorny, prickly tree that will attract harm instead of keeping them away. May Allah help us in our noble endeavors of raising future leaders, for future leaders are the hope of Islam. With that, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much.